When you are following a non-traditional path in whatever kind of field of work, whether it would be starting your own business, writing a book, working in freelance, creating content, and so on, you most likely have been criticized by your family, friends, or even random people on the streets or the internet of your decision, which is, in their words, unsafe, stupid, and a waste of time. It's hard to believe in yourself and in your ambition when it seems like the whole world and sometimes even the closest people to you are against you. Even though I've been on this non-traditional path for less than 2 years, I know how it feels when the outside judges and automatically creates negative scenarios for your future because they can't see the vision which you can see. In moments like these, when it seems like you are alone and start to doubt yourself and even your work, it's extremely important to know how to react properly to the outside and their opinions. Yes, you're probably alone in terms of your circle of friends and family who have different perspectives of your life. But you have to learn to deal with yourself and to make yourself stronger in order to persevere your ambition and not to be led down by your insecurities and other people's opinions of how your life should be. So how do you deal with this? Let's start with the most important thing when it comes to criticism from others: managing yourself and your actions. Most of the time, it's not other people that are at fault because they seem not to care or bash your dream. It's your own reaction to their insults about it. One of the main ideas of Stoicism is the act of being in control of your actions, which are your decisions and the way you act on those decisions. The outside and the opinions of others are uncontrollable and should be left alone, as trying to control something which is uncontrollable is just a waste of time and energy. Practicing this Stoic lesson, especially in times of doubt and negativity from others, can help you become more resilient towards opinions of others and keep following the path that you have chosen to take. As somebody who creates content for others and still is small in comparison to other YouTubers, it was and still is difficult to ignore the opinions of others. I want to become a filmmaker and I'm interested in many other creative outlets, and I use YouTube as a platform to share my knowledge and experience of life, and doing these videos provides me with lessons and a record of how much I improve as the time goes on. My goal is to build a community on my channel, and for this channel to provide me with at least enough financial stability so I could focus more on creating and learning. Many people don't understand what my videos are or how YouTube works in general. I've been on YouTube for years and I know how it works, and I believe in myself that one day I could make a living doing this. It's my goal, but it's often faced with many questions and doubts, especially from my family members. They don't see this as something you could do for a living, and they push the standard of going to university is the only way to gain knowledge and a good job position. I'm not really interested in studying any of the courses, as they would cost me a lot of money, and I would probably be more focused on creating and learning in this non-traditional way than more in my academics, so university most likely wouldn't work for me. I realize that I'm alone in this, and the only people that I relate to and share similar goals and ideas with are the people that I follow, like Ganger, Mediavella, Captain Sinbad, and so on. Of course, I really appreciate whenever you guys leave comments on my YouTube videos or text me on Instagram asking about advice about NoFap, and I'm always more than glad to respond to these questions and get into discussions with like-minded people. But you know, in my surroundings like family and friends and even fellow acquaintances, I'm pretty much alone with who supports me and understands what I do. Some of you can probably relate to this, but remember that being alone can work towards your advantage. You can use this new source of fuel of doubts from others and motivate yourself to keep going, to not be broken by the outside, and that's when you begin to train your inner self. You have to understand that only with patience and perseverance can you accomplish great things, and that's what we see in the successful people that we admire. We see traits of going against the odds, dealing with criticism, and putting years of work in order to create something substantial. So it's not about wishing and hoping that others act a certain way. It's about training our own minds in order to become more resilient and to keep working towards our goals. Get rid of negative people from your life. Okay, I know that this statement might seem opposing to what I talked about in the first part, because isn't this just trying to escape the problem instead of having these types of people in your life in order to maybe use their opinions as fuel and train our own minds whenever they question our work? Well, sometimes the smart thing to do is to change your inner circle and surround yourself with like-minded people or at least friends that support you. There's one thing when your family or friends don't support what you're doing, it's another when they always criticize you and shame you for doing something you like. Being in this constantly negative environment is hard for many people, and depending on your situation, you should clean your room, as Jordan Peterson would say. Organize your surroundings. I'm talking here about toxic relationships. To become unoffendable is something you should strive for daily, but training yourself to not care as much to what others say is more aimed at towards the people that are closest to you, your close friends and family. Of course, it is important to shield your mind from random comments from others as well, but these people more on the outside, those your friends and fellow acquaintances, are the ones that you should try to organize, because it is much more difficult to organize your family, for example. Your family will stay your family, and unless you're in an abusive family, then you'll have to stick with them for a while. But if we're talking about friends, they're more easily manageable, but also at the same time hard to get rid of. For me, I have very few close friends, and I have only one friend that actually shares my enthusiasm for philosophy and self-improvement, but he still doesn't support me in a way that is not negative, it's just passive, as he doesn't really care about my work, and it's not that interesting for him. And this leads us to the third part of this video. Sometimes people just don't care. It's not always about the outside being negative towards your chosen path. Sometimes they're just simply ignorant or don't care about the stuff you're doing. Hey bro, you know what? Mediavelli just texted me back on Instagram after I mentioned him in one of my Instagram stories. Isn't that awesome? Okay, you see that bicep guy on YouTube that you watch? Yeah, he's one of my inspirations. When you present your ambition for your chosen work to somebody and they seem to not care or show lack of interest, your ego is attacked, but not in a way like when you are told that it's a bad idea to be pursuing something like this. When people, especially the people that are closest to you, criticize you, it's difficult to accept or to not care, but getting a lack of reaction of your represented idea of what you think success is can be just as hard to deal with, but in reality it's much easier. In situations like this, you might think that these types of people are in the same category as those who criticize you, because how can they not care what I do, which is so important to me? Well, maybe they have their own problems and their own goals they want to achieve, and they don't really understand your work, and instead of criticizing it, they just choose a passive approach and let you do what you want. These people are much better for you, as they don't just spew negativity about you and your work without having any real knowledge of how your chosen activity works. People who don't care that much about your work usually keep their opinions to themselves, and or maybe they just genuinely don't understand what your work is all about, and they just stay silent. Of course, it doesn't matter if the outside is critical or indifferent to you and your ambition, as at the end of it all lies your ego, which is the only thing that you should try to manage in order to keep working on your dream. It would be nice for your family and friends to understand you and cheer you towards achieving what you want, but that's not always the case, and when you feel sad and discouraged because of how other people view what you're trying to pursue, it's almost always your ego at work. This is something that I and probably many of you struggle with. I have to remind myself that sometimes it's the ego that is talking to me when I feel offended by someone not agreeing with what I do. Do I really need the support and approval of others so I can feel like I'm the man and I'm doing everything correctly in my life? No, I don't need that, as I'm already on a different path than others, and if my goal would be to satisfy others, I would just follow and do what they instruct me to do and pursue the things they want me to. How would it end for me? Probably not well, as there are always things that people find in your life which is not right for them. If I do go to university, for example, to become an English teacher, my parents would be satisfied for a while, but then later on say, oh, why haven't you pursued to become a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. This is just an example, but I think it illustrates well of how uncontrollable the outside is and how only focusing on ourselves can lead us to live good lives. Of course, I'm not saying that your life will be perfect if you live with accordance of what you want to do, but at least it will be your life and not somebody else's. On the topic of ego, it is also important to remember that ego, which is the story we tell ourselves, sometimes grows into delusion and overconfidence about ourselves and how much we can actually achieve in what we set out to do. Even though it's important to work every day on what you want to achieve, the end result of your vision may be completely different from what you think it might be. Ryan Holiday, in his book Ego is the Enemy, writes how our own ambition and work can manifest into a persona of how you want to be before you even achieve your set goals. It's important to stay humble and always be a student in terms of your work, as there's always someone who has better skills than you. This book really opened my eyes in terms of who I really am in comparison to who I think I am. I look at all these guys that I mentioned, like Einzelganger, Mediavella, Captain Sinbad and others, as somebody's who I will be one day, and sometimes when I fantasize about having the gear, the money and the following of what they have, I subconsciously think that I am above my own level of work. In reality, there's so much I still need to learn about video making and writing. I still use Sony Vegas to edit my videos, I don't have the best lighting, gear, and in general storytelling skills I wish I could have for my videos. But it's a process of constantly working on your goal, and during your work, remembering to take care of your own ego as well. It's important to differentiate mindless negativity from people about your dream and actual criticism which you could learn from. Instead of thinking that, oh, they just don't know any better, or this, I have more skills than this person in this field. If it's truly constructive criticism, maybe there's a lesson you can learn from other people, and that way you might get a step closer to what you want to achieve. In the end, we are all human, and humans tend to crave the attention and acceptance of the group, and no matter if you practice the stoic approach of not caring what others say, or you give your ego a reality check, somewhere deep down we all want somebody who believes in us. But for the most part, that one person who believes in us is only ourselves, and just because we probably can't achieve a full state of being unoffendable and self-sufficient, it's important to strive for this ideal, as this is the only way to see how close we can actually get to it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe for more weekly self-improvement content. Also, if you want to learn more about this topic, which is more of trying not to care what people think, I made a video that is called Unoffendable, Stop Caring What Others Say, and it's a kind of a review of Einzelganger's book Unoffendable, which with my take on it. So I would highly suggest watching that video and reading that book if you have the time to. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want, you can support this channel both on Patreon and PayPal, and all the links to all the social medias and to support pages are gonna be in the description. Thank you again for watching, guys, and stay on your journey.